The quantum research facility, nestled deep within the Andromeda complex, was unlike any other laboratory in human history. Massive crystalline windows overlooked the sprawling research campus, where generations of scientists had pushed the boundaries of human understanding. But today would be different. Elena Rodriguez adjusted her neural interface, its delicate silver filigree tracing along her temple like a sophisticated piece of jewelry. Years of research had led to this moment, a culmination of theories that most of her colleagues had dismissed as pure fantasy. Quantum consciousness manipulation was supposed to be impossible, a theoretical concept that existed only in the most speculative scientific journals. Marcus Chen stood at the primary research station, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces with practiced precision. Unlike most researchers, he possessed a unique neural architecture that had first caught Elena's attention during a routine medical scan 5 years ago. His brain showed extraordinary quantum coherence, a trait so rare that initial medical reports had been dismissed as equipment malfunction. Initiating primary quantum resonance sequence, Marcus called out, his voice steady despite the weight of their potential discovery. The laboratory's advanced sensors hummed to life, a complex orchestra of technological marvel designed to capture the most minute interactions of quantum particles. Massive gravitational dampeners lined the walls, creating a controlled environment that could isolate even the most ephemeral quantum events. Elena watched the primary display, her breath catching in her throat. The quantum entanglement experiment was supposed to be routine, a standard test of particle interaction under extreme conditions, but the readings defied everything they understood about physics. A coffee mug on a nearby workstation began to tremble. At first, Elena thought it was a minor vibration from the equipment, but then something extraordinary happened. The mug stopped mid-fall, suspended in midair as if time itself had paused. Marcus remained motionless, his eyes closed, concentration etched across his features. Sweat beaded on his forehead, tiny droplets catching the laboratory's soft blue lighting. "Marcus." Elena's voice was barely a whisper. The mug began to move backward, not falling, but actually rewinding its previous trajectory. It lifted slowly, returning to its original position on the workstation, as if the laws of physics were nothing more than suggestions. The sensitive quantum measurement equipment went wild. Sensors designed to capture the most minute interactions were unable to process what was happening. Entire banks of computers flickered, their complex algorithms struggling to make sense of the impossible data stream. "Diagnostic systems are failing," a computerized voice announced. "Quantum event beyond predictive models." Elena knew they were witnessing something that would rewrite scientific understanding. Humanity had always suspected that consciousness was more than just a biological process. But this was proof of something far more profound. Little did they know that this moment would change not just human scientific understanding, but the entire trajectory of galactic civilization. The holographic conference room crackled with tension. Representatives from 12 different galactic civilizations stared at the human delegation, a mixture of confusion and barely concealed contempt etched across their diverse physiognomies. Admiral Karaz of the Zornak Collective dominated the room. His crystalline exoskeleton reflected the holographic displays, creating a mesmerizing light show that did little to distract from his imposing presence. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, with 6 articulated limbs and compound eyes that could perceive quantum-level interactions, he represented a civilization that had explored temporal mechanics for over 20,000 years. "Temporal manipulation is not a parlor trick," Karaz proclaimed, his translator rendering complex linguistic nuances into precise English. "Your claim challenges centuries of established scientific understanding." Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood her ground. Years of diplomatic training and scientific expertise had prepared her for this moment. Behind her, Marcus Chen remained calm, a study in controlled potential. The human delegation consisted of just 3 individuals, a stark contrast to the massive delegations from other advanced civilizations. The Galactic Confederation's central database displayed historical records of temporal research. Holographic projections showed millennia of failed attempts by various species to manipulate time. Massive technological installations, quantum accelerators the size of small moons, complex neural networks that required entire planetary computing systems, all had failed to achieve what humans claimed to have discovered through a simple laboratory experiment. "We have documentation," Elena began, her voice steady. "Full sensor logs, multiple independent verifications, and reproducible experimental results. A representative from the Krultak Empire, a silicon-based life form that communicated through complex electromagnetic patterns, raised a crystalline appendage. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, the being translated through its communication matrix." Marcus stepped forward. Where Elena used diplomatic precision, he represented something more primal, the raw potential of human capability. His neural interface glimmered softly, a technological marvel that was itself a testament to human innovation. "Observation is insufficient," Marcus said. "Would you like a demonstration?" The room fell silent. Sophisticated sensors from multiple civilizations began to activate, preparing to analyze every quantum fluctuation. Diplomatic protocols dictated careful scrutiny of any claims that could fundamentally alter galactic scientific understanding. Karaz's multiple eyes narrowed. "Proceed," he responded, a challenge hidden within the single word. Marcus closed his eyes. The room's ambient technology began to react. Holographic displays flickered, quantum sensors began to spin wildly, and for a moment, time itself seemed to hold its breath. A glass of water on the conference table began to move, not in a simple trajectory, but in impossible ways. It rewound its own spill, liquid climbing back into the glass against every known law of physics. Droplet tongues suspended, then reversed their trajectory, creating a mesmerizing dance that defied comprehension. The sensor logs would later show something unprecedented. Not just a manipulation of time, but a fundamental interaction with quantum probability that no existing scientific model could explain. Diplomatic conversations would never be the same. News traveled faster than light-speed communications. Within hours of the Galactic Confederation's emergency session, every research center, diplomatic channel, and scientific institution buzzed with the revelation of human temporal capabilities. The United Earth Scientific Consortium found itself at the center of an unprecedented storm. Dr. Elena Rodriguez became an overnight sensation, her image projected across holographic news networks throughout human colonies and beyond. Marcus Chen, typically reserved, was suddenly thrust into the global spotlight, a reluctant hero of scientific discovery. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, head of the Quantum Consciousness Research Division, called an emergency global conference. The meeting was unlike any in human history. Representatives from every major research institution gathered in a massive holographic chamber, their avatars representing research centers from Earth to the Mars colonies, from the Jupiter research platforms to the distant Titan observatories. "We're looking at more than a scientific breakthrough," Tanaka explained, his holographic image crisp and precise. "This is a fundamental reimagining of human potential." Initial research revealed something extraordinary. Certain humans, particularly those with specific neural architectures, possessed a unique quantum resonance. It wasn't a technological implant or a manufactured capability. This was a biological mechanism that allowed direct interaction with temporal fields. The implications were staggering. Where other species required massive technological infrastructure to manipulate quantum states, humans needed only focus and intention. Marcus Chen wasn't an isolated incident. Preliminary screenings discovered approximately 1 in every 50,000 humans showed varying degrees of temporal sensitivity. Galactic research teams descended on Earth. The Zornak Collective, previously skeptical, now approached with unprecedented scientific humility. Their top researchers requested extensive collaborative studies, hoping to understand the fundamental differences in human neural architecture. Dr. Rodriguez led the initial comprehensive studies. Advanced quantum scanners mapped Marcus's brain, revealing neural pathways that seem to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Traditional medical imaging showed something impossible: neural networks that could potentially interact with time itself as a malleable construct. It's not about controlling time, Marcus explained during one of the many research sessions. It's about understanding that time might be more of a suggestion than a fixed law. The global scientific community split into multiple camps. Some researchers approached the discovery with pure scientific curiosity. Others saw potential military applications. Diplomatic channels worked overtime to establish comprehensive guidelines to prevent potential misuse. The Galactic Confederation called an unprecedented series of emergency sessions. Humanity had just changed the fundamental understanding of quantum mechanics, consciousness, and the nature of reality itself. Political leaders struggled to comprehend the full scope of the discovery. Military strategists ran countless simulations. Philosophers debated the ethical implications of temporal perception. One thing became clear: humanity was no longer just another emerging species in the galactic community. They had become something more, a civilization with the potential to fundamentally reshape understanding of consciousness, time, and scientific possibility. The quantum spark that began in a small research laboratory was about to change everything. The Proxima Collective's territorial dispute had dragged on for decades. 3 star systems hung in the balance, with tensions escalating to the point of imminent military conflict. Traditional diplomatic channels had failed repeatedly, with negotiation teams from multiple galactic mediators unable to bridge the fundamental differences between the warring civilizations. Dr. Marcus Chen and a specialized team of temporal researchers were called in as a last resort. Their approach would be unlike any diplomatic intervention in galactic history. The negotiation chamber on the neutral Confederation space station was a marvel of technological engineering. Multilingual translation matrices hummed softly, while quantum stabilization fields ensured no external interference could disrupt the delicate proceedings. Temporal diplomacy is not manipulation, Marcus explained to the assembled diplomatic corps. It's about understanding potential trajectories of conflict and communication. The human team's method was revolutionary. Using advanced neural interfaces and their unique temporal perception, they could create microtemporal fields that allowed negotiators to explore multiple conversation trajectories simultaneously. It was diplomacy elevated to an art form, seeing not just the words spoken, but the potential consequences of those words across multiple potential futures. Ambassador Lydia Reyes, the lead human diplomat, sat at the center of the negotiation table. Her neural interface glimmered softly, a testament to the cutting-edge technology that made their approach possible. Beside her, Marcus managed a complex array of quantum monitoring equipment, his concentration creating a palpable energy in the room. Representatives from the Proxima Collective's 2 primary factions sat in tense silence. The silicon-based Kittle delegation faced off against the energy-form Nexus representatives, centuries of mistrust etched into their communication protocols. What happened next defied traditional diplomatic understanding. As the initial arguments began, Marcus and his team subtly introduced quantum probability fields. They weren't changing the conversation. They were expanding the participants' ability to perceive potential outcomes. Diplomatic statements that would typically escalate into heated exchanges suddenly found alternative paths. A territorial dispute over a resource-rich star system, previously an insurmountable point of conflict, began to reveal nuanced solutions. The human team didn't dictate terms. Instead, they helped both sides perceive previously invisible compromise points. It's like watching multiple chess games simultaneously, one Confederation observer noted, with the ability to see several moves ahead. The Nexus representative, typically rigid in its communication, found itself exploring collaborative solutions it had never considered. The Kittle delegation, known for their absolute territorial stance, began to show unexpected flexibility. 12 hours into the negotiations, something unprecedented happened. A comprehensive peace framework emerged, not through traditional compromise, but through a fundamentally new approach to understanding conflict. The Human Temporal Research Team had done what generations of galactic diplomats had failed to achieve. They had transformed a potential war into a collaborative opportunity. As the final agreements were signed, Marcus understood they had demonstrated something far more important than diplomatic skill. They had shown the galaxy a uniquely human approach to resolving complex challenges, with creativity, empathy, and an extraordinary ability to perceive potential. The Temporal Ethics Commission convened in a specially designed facility that seemed to exist between reality and possibility. Holographic displays surrounded the conference chamber, each surface alive with quantum calculations, potential timelines, and ethical analysis. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center, surrounded by the most diverse group of experts ever assembled. Philosophers, quantum physicists, diplomats, neurologists, and cultural anthropologists from multiple species worked together to establish guidelines for temporal research and interaction. Power without responsibility is the greatest threat to any civilization, Elena began, her voice carrying the weight of their unprecedented discovery. Initial research revealed critical limitations to human temporal capabilities. The ability to perceive and slightly modify temporal streams came with profound physiological and psychological costs. Each temporal intervention required immense mental energy. Sustained manipulation could potentially cause severe neural degradation, creating a natural safeguard against excessive interference. Marcus Chen became the primary research subject, pushing the boundaries of human capability while maintaining a strict ethical framework. Extensive medical monitoring showed that prolonged temporal perception could cause extreme mental fatigue, temporary neural disassociation, and in some cases, complete sensory overload. The Commission established 5 fundamental principles of temporal ethics. No direct alteration of critical historical events. Minimal intervention in natural temporal progression. Absolute protection of individual and collective autonomy. Comprehensive documentation of all temporal interactions. Immediate cessation of any intervention showing potential negative cascading effects. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, a leading expert in quantum neurology, explained the biological limitations. The human brain can only sustain brief temporal perceptions, he demonstrated using complex holographic neural maps. Think of it like holding your breath underwater. There's a natural limit to how long you can maintain the state. The most startling discovery was the variability of temporal sensitivity. Not all humans possessed the ability to the same degree. Preliminary screenings showed a spectrum of capabilities, with only a small percentage able to achieve meaningful temporal perception. Galactic research teams were both fascinated and frustrated. The human approach to temporal mechanics was fundamentally different from any previously known scientific method. Where other civilizations had developed complex technological solutions, humans seemed to approach time as a fluid, conscious experience. The Zornak Collective's lead researcher, Dr. Kvex, presented a comprehensive analysis of human temporal capabilities. It's not a technology, she explained during a joint research conference. It's more akin to a biological adaptation, a form of consciousness we've never encountered before. Ethical debates raged across multiple platforms. Military strategists saw potential tactical applications. Diplomatic corps explored peaceful intervention possibilities. Philosophers questioned the fundamental nature of free will and temporal perception. Marcus continued his research, understanding that their discovery was more than a scientific breakthrough. It was a fundamental reimagining of how consciousness could interact with the universe. As the Temporal Ethics Commission concluded its initial guidelines, one thing became clear. Humanity had opened a door to understanding time in a way no civilization had ever imagined possible. The journey of discovery was just beginning. The Galactic Science Symposium convened on Nexus Prime, a massive space station that served as the primary research hub for interstellar scientific collaboration. Thousands of researchers from hundreds of different species gathered, their anticipation palpable as humanity prepared to present its groundbreaking temporal research. Dr. Elena Rodriguez took the central stage, her holographic presentation casting intricate quantum diagrams that danced above the assembled scientists. Behind her, Marcus Chen stood as a living testament to the capabilities they were about to explain. Temporal mechanics is not about controlling time, Elena began, her voice resonating through translation matrices. It's about understanding consciousness as a fundamental force of the universe. The scientific exchanges became a new form of diplomatic currency. Research centers across multiple star systems competed for collaborative opportunities with human scientists. Where previous interstellar research had been guarded and compartmentalized, humanity introduced a revolutionary approach of open scientific discourse. The Zornak Collective, once the most technologically advanced civilization in the known galaxy, found themselves students rather than teachers. Their millennia-old research institutions began restructuring entire departments to understand the human approach to quantum mechanics. Dr. Kvex, lead researcher of the Zornak Temporal Dynamics Institute, presented a groundbreaking paper that would have been unthinkable decades earlier. Human consciousness, she explained, represents a quantum interface we have never before considered possible. Technological development accelerated at an unprecedented rate. Species that had been technological rivals for centuries began collaborative research programs. The human approach challenged fundamental assumptions about consciousness, time, and scientific understanding. Universities on Earth struggled to meet the demand for quantum consciousness researchers. Young scientists found themselves at the center of a global scientific renaissance. Research grants flooded in from every imaginable source: governmental, private, and interstellar collaborative institutions. Marcus Chen became more than a researcher. He was a living bridge between different ways of understanding the universe. His neural scans became the most studied scientific documents in galactic history. Research teams developed non-invasive techniques to study temporal sensitivity, hoping to understand the unique human capability. The economic implications were equally profound. Temporal perception opened new avenues of problem-solving that transformed multiple industries. Predictive economic modeling, conflict resolution, scientific research, every field found itself reimagined through the lens of human temporal understanding. Diplomatic channels transformed. Where previous negotiations relied on complex technological translations and historical data, human temporal researchers could now provide nuanced insights into potential outcomes. Conflicts that seemed inevitable found unexpected resolutions. Cultural exchange programs exploded in popularity. Scientists, diplomats, and researchers from across the galaxy sought to understand the human perspective. Universities developed new interdisciplinary programs focused on quantum consciousness and temporal dynamics. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, reflecting on the global transformation, captured the essence of the moment. We're not just exploring a new scientific capability, he told a packed conference hall. We're reimagining what it means to be conscious, to understand time, to perceive reality itself. As the symposium concluded, one thing became clear. Humanity had done more than make a scientific discovery. They had opened a new chapter in galactic understanding, a testament to human creativity, adaptability, and the extraordinary potential of consciousness. The quantum anomaly emerged without warning. Deep space monitoring stations across multiple star systems detected a disturbance that defied all known physical laws, a massive temporal disruption that threatened to unravel the fabric of spacetime itself. Initial scans revealed a terrifying prospect. The anomaly was consuming entire star systems, creating cascading temporal distortions that could potentially destroy multiple galaxies. Traditional technological interventions failed spectacularly. Massive quantum stabilization platforms, developed over millennia by the most advanced civilizations, collapsed within moments of attempting to contain the disruption. The Galactic Confederation turned to humanity as their final hope. Dr. Elena Rodriguez assembled a team unlike any in scientific history. Marcus Chen would be at the center of the most critical mission ever attempted. 12 of the most temporally sensitive humans were brought together, each carefully selected for their unique neural architecture and psychological stability. This isn't just about saving star systems, Elena explained during the final briefing. This is about protecting the fundamental structure of reality itself. The mission would push human temporal capabilities to their absolute limit. Each team member would need to synchronize their consciousness, creating a massive temporal stabilization field that could gradually dissipate the dangerous anomaly. Preparation was intense. Weeks of neural calibration, quantum synchronization, and psychological conditioning preceded the mission. The team underwent treatments that pushed the boundaries of human physiological and mental capabilities. Advanced neural interfaces were custom designed to support their collective temporal perception. The launch site was a massive space station positioned at the edge of the known observable universe. Sophisticated monitoring equipment from multiple civilizations tracked every minute detail of the human team's preparations. The Zornak Collective, the Nexus Confederation, and dozens of other advanced civilizations watched with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Marcus Chen stood at the center of the team, his neural interface creating a complex web of quantum connections between the 12 selected researchers. Their mission was mathematically impossible, yet humanity had made a habit of achieving the impossible. As they initiated the temporal intervention, the universe seemed to hold its breath. The quantum anomaly responded in ways no scientific model had predicted. Instead of resisting, it began to interact with the human temporal field. Marcus and his team weren't fighting the disruption. They were communicating with it, understanding its fundamental nature at a level no technological system could achieve. Hours passed, or perhaps moments. Time itself became meaningless within the intervention zone. The monitoring systems went wild. Quantum fluctuations created patterns that defied comprehension. Entire research teams would spend decades analyzing the milliseconds of data generated during the intervention. In the final moments of the mission, something extraordinary happened. The anomaly didn't just stabilize, it transformed. Complex temporal patterns emerged, revealing layers of cosmic information that had remained hidden from every civilization's scientific understanding. When the team finally emerged, they were fundamentally altered. Their neural pathways had expanded, their understanding of reality forever changed. They had not just saved multiple star systems, they had rewritten the fundamental understanding of time, consciousness, and the universe itself. Success came at a profound cost. The temporal stabilization fundamentally altered the research team, expanding their neural pathways in ways no one could have predicted. They had not just saved multiple star systems, they had demonstrated that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to adapt, to imagine, to transform. The Galactic Confederation would never be the same. Humans had proven they were more than just another emerging species. They were a force of unprecedented potential. Epilogue. The Quantum Horizon. As Elena looked out at the stars, she understood they had only begun to explore the true potential of human consciousness. Time was no longer just a dimension to be measured, but a canvas to be understood, approached with creativity, respect, and limitless imagination.